Let's talk about happiness for a moment. You'll find a ton of information on how to be happy, on the importance of managing your energy, on the biochemistry of happiness, and how you can be happy no matter what. And the great thing about the emergence of positive psychology in the last few decades is that it's brought things like emotional intelligence and mindfulness into the mainstream conversation. So these ideas about managing yourself, exercising control over your mind and emotions, is no longer sort of locked away in the spiritual conversation, in the metaphysical conversation. And one of the angles I'm going to add to this dialogue is elaborating on the dynamic nature of what we call happiness. When someone asks you if you're happy, you'll usually introspect and you'll assess how elevated, how light, maybe even how giddy you feel. And this feeling of lightness, of having an elevated mood, of giddiness will vary depending on what it is that you're happy about. And that points to happiness not being this static setting on your sort of emotional thermostat. It has many dimensions to it and it varies depending on what you're focused on. There's a broad sense of happiness and overall satisfaction with your life and with your being that you can experience. And there's also a sense of happiness that's specifically in relation to some particular experience. It's a very subjective experience, and so it varies from one person to the next. And it's also a varied experience because it varies from one topic to another. So, how happy you are about how clean your car is will be different from how happy you are about tripling your yearly salary, which will also be different from how happy you feel holding your newborn in your hands. All of these nuances of happiness are clumped up together when we talk about being happy, when we talk about happiness. So it may at times evoke this image in your mind that happiness is this object that can be attained, that it's this fixed event, and that it's this singular one-dimensional line you can hit, like you're at a fair and playing the muscle strength game. You won't actually hear a bell ding telling you that you've hit the exact line where happiness statically lives every time you move yourself into a state of happiness. It's fluid as any other emotion. There are different and varying thresholds of happiness you can reach. It has many spectrums, different levels of intensity from low or mild to intense and high. And as I said, what one person experiences happiness will be different from another. The scale, the quality, the inclusivity in what comes into your awareness as you experience happiness is varied. So honing your skill of being happy on a moment-to-moment basis requires that you have this clear map of what the happiness experience is for you and what it can become. Include that variability of happiness in your mental map. Allow yourself to recognize that you are and will experience different tones of happiness moment after moment. And being happy is a skill. It's a way that you learn to metabolize energy in your nervous system. It's a way you again and again fire off the kinds of thoughts and interpretations and assumptions and images that keep you feeling energized, open, and filled with light. And the more you fire off these thoughts and interpretations and assumptions and images, the more it becomes a habit for you to just see your world in that way, to just interpret energy and translate in that way that you call happiness. All right, so let's get to the practical portion of this conversation. The practical aspect being how you can enhance your ability to measure where you are on your own happiness scale and where you can get to. So once you have this clear understanding of the diversity of the happiness experience, you can then begin to move yourself into whatever new level of the happiness experience that you want to anchor yourself and express in your everyday experience. So let's first identify what your current map is. How happy are you right now, both overall with your life, with yourself, with being here in this world at this time, and how happy you are in your day-to-day experience with the specific situations in your life relating to everything from your body to your relationships to your level of success to your level of personal or spiritual development. Whatever's going on in your life right now, both go broad and identify your level of happiness and get specific and identify where you are on that sort of scale as you move from one topic to another in your experience. Scan your awareness, see what shows up, and make a note. And also pay attention to how it is that you know you're happy in these areas. Pay attention to your internal calibration of happiness. What is it that tells you you're happy in these areas? I'll give you an example. For me, what I call and know to be happiness is usually this pulsing feeling at the center of my chest. And I usually can't stop smiling, so my cheeks tend to sort of hurt. um, I don't hold a temperament where I burst and bubble with joy, where I have this exuberant, zippity doo dah, skipping through the halls type of a temperament. My happiness experience internally is a slow but powerful simmer. It definitely informs my facial expressions. It's definitely present in the lightness in my eyes. And internally, it's this sort of pulsing energy. And if I had to give it a color, I'd give it a blend of sort of pastel hues in the yellows and greens, and a lot of sort of a transparent glow around that feeling of happiness, if that makes sense. So what tells you that you're happy? What are the sensations? What are the internal sounds? What are the internal images? And even the external expressions. If you find yourself smiling a lot, or you feel like your eyes lighten, or any other sort of external observable change, get to know that for yourself. Get to know what that overall happiness experience is like for you, both internally and in your sort of behavioral manifestation. And you can do this with any emotion that you feel you're interested in having as sort of your home base of operation, if you will. Right? So once you're clear on what your current level of happiness is and what your overall experience of happiness is, like how you do happiness, now you want to take a look at how happy you want to be. Where do you choose this level of happiness you feel to go and grow? Now, you can answer that you're fine where you are and, you're good with the level of happiness in your experience, both on the broad level and the specific level, and we can leave it at that. For those who feel that there's more experiences of happiness to bring into your day-to-day life, you can keep going with this. So take those overall levels of happiness that you feel and also those specific life areas and clarify for yourself how happy you want to be. To help you bring into focus where you want to go, think about the happiest person you know. Someone who you either observe directly or imagine has this degree of happiness in themselves that is just out of this world from where you are right now. Bring that person into focus in your mind's eye. See them, hear them, notice all the things that tell you that their level of happiness is way more expanded or way more intense or bigger than your own level. This will help to give yourself a destination of sorts in the energy flow you're interested in achieving in yourself. When you know where you are and you identify where you want to get to on any subject, whether internal or external, whether we're talking about the elevation of energy in yourself or the manifestation of some object or experience, you'll give yourself a subconscious directive that says, this is where I want to get to. Okay, so now that you have a representation of your end game where happiness is concerned, ask yourself, if I were to have, live, and experience the same level of happiness as this person, how would I feel right here in this moment? What shows up for me? How would I be behaving? And notice what shows up in your awareness. And you ask yourself again, if I were to bask in the same level of happiness as this person, if my entire energy field was to be saturated with this energy, if this was just where I operated from, what do I notice about myself, about my body, about my heart, about my overall physiology? Now take a moment to begin to consciously take record of this state. And as you do this, you will find yourself moving into a new state, a new awareness of energy. So bring your conscious observation through it. Ask the question again and again until you feel that shift into a new space of being. Notice how your muscles feel. Notice how the back of your neck feels. Notice how your jaw feels. Notice any tendency you may be experiencing, like maybe, the smiling thing is happening or something is changing in your physiology. Scan your body to see what and how it's like in this energy and how your body responds to this energy. All right, so now here's the takeaway part of this. If you rehearse this process, meaning you train your mind and body to again and again experience and express this level of happiness, hearing the things you hear, feeling the feelings you feel, locating yourself on that endpoint on your map, experiencing and re-experiencing the sensations, you'll acclimate. You'll condition yourself to have a new expression, and so a new experience of happiness. And once you do acclimate, you can take that new level that you've reached yourself and raise the bar again so that you can generate and sustain a new level of happiness in yourself even more. And there will never be an end to how happy you feel. There will never come a point where you say to yourself, I've done it, I've reached the summit of happiness. Because happiness and any of the other sort of emotional states we can move into are not a static endgame. They are as dynamic and evolving as you are. And I've already said you can do this to any emotion you want to embed as a norm in your day-to-day focus. There are thousands upon thousands of emotions for you to pick and plug into your perspective and way of being in the world. This is the joy and freedom of having the absolute power to create and recreate yourself. You just have to exercise that power by getting intentional and deliberate about what energies you weave, shape, and form yourself out of.